Well, it looks like we're getting a little bit of a light rain. They said it was going to rain today. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a little rain. I guess I'll have to make sure I have my tray to catch the water leaking from the back of the house. Anyway, I just wanted to have a little conversation with my family here. Now, we know a lot of the YouTube channels, they have their kids or they have other family they can put on video. Now, I don't have any. So the closest thing I have would be these birds. And by the way, some people tell me they're not ducks, they're geese. But if you look closely at them, you can see they are ducks. This is not a goose. If you look at the head of a goose and you look at its beak or bill, you'll notice that a duck is flat on the bottom and angled on the top. But a goose is going to have an angle top and bottom. Geese are more of a, let's just say, a grazing bird. They need to have enough force where they can grab at plants and pull them off and eat them. And ducks, they're mostly foragers. They do more digging for insects and scavenging. You know how ducks are. But this breed of duck, which is known as the Muscovy duck, is often considered to be some kind of invasive pest. But that's a lie. These birds only live in urban, suburban, and some rural areas. They cannot survive in the wild areas. You will never, ever see these birds out in the Everglades, in the natural areas. They are too vulnerable to predators. They don't move very fast, and while they can fly, the males especially, like this guy over here, they're just simply too heavy to fly any distance. And even the females, the most I've ever seen them fly is about a quarter of a mile. They'll fly from one place to the other. They like to live in trees, although these, being feral ducks, which are partially domestic, they tend to nest on the ground. Now, some people just have an unbelievable hate for these birds. And what is the main reason why somebody would hate a quiet and otherwise innocent bird? Well, this is why. It's that simple. Poop. Now, I watered the yard yesterday and I washed down all the sidewalks. And as you can see, it's about noon on Saturday and not even 24 hours, there's poop everywhere. Now remember, most of the poop is going to be wherever the ducks are, and they like to sit here around the trees. Look at all this garbage. I keep getting pieces of debris. This actually looks like, oh, it's an inner tube. Part of a bicycle inner tube. That is the one bad thing about this yard. Look at this. Some kind of a, I don't know what that is. Anyway, there's a lot of stuff that falls on the ground here, and if it's a natural material, like for example this looks like a piece of wood, that's all going to break down back into the soil. But these other plastic items, I try to pick them up and get rid of them while I can. This, of course, is a duck feather. This is a result from one of the duck fights. And usually with the ducks, you have a combination of the eating, the fighting, the mating, and of course the pooping. So people are just so, I don't know how to describe it, selfish, that the thought of a bird or other animal leaving poop in their yard is just terrible. And of course they like to dig holes, but the good thing is they eat a lot of insects. Now you'll notice there's a lot of plants around here, and you don't really see, I mean, there's some insect damage, and sometimes the ducks themselves will nibble on plants. But all in all, there aren't as many insects as there otherwise would be. But the Muscovy duck, and you can look these up online, these birds, while hated by some, are loved by others. And if you've ever seen how cute their ducklings are, you'd wonder how anybody could hate them, because the ducklings are extremely cute. And once you get to know these ducks, even the big male ducks that people think are ugly, are actually cute themselves. You take a close look at their head, you can see they do have that red stuff That's sort of like what a turkey's head would have. So they're sometimes called turkey ducks. And again, they're big birds. These ducks range anywhere from 5 pounds to the biggest one I've ever had, which was 18 pounds. Those are serious birds. And believe it or not, that 18-pound beast, he could fly. Not very far, but he could fly. So, again, the ducks, they're not a problem. Now, you'll go any neighborhood here in South Florida, and most people don't want the ducks around, but there's always what I used to call the duck house, or what I usually said was the duck lady. I think 99% of the time when you see a house with a bunch of ducks, it's usually a female that is feeding them and taking care of them. Because women in general tend to be more compassionate to animals. At least that's what I've seen. So they'll look at the ducks as something that, they feel sorry for them, they'll feed them, whatever. Now, you'll notice that I also go out of my way to help ducks. If there's a duck crossing the street, I'll stop. And I've actually blocked traffic to let ducklings cross the street. I will rescue ducks that are injured. I fish ducklings out of the drain constantly. I've even done some amateur duck surgery, trying to fix ducks that were damaged from all kinds of debris, from fights and whatever. So I'm a big defender of the duck. But people say, well, wait a minute. Why would you want to help a duck when you're just going to cook it and eat it? Well, it's not that simple. You see, just because I have ducks in my yard doesn't mean that I'm going to cook every single one of them. The decision to cook a duck is going to depend a lot on how the duck is, how it acts. Ducks that are peaceful and generally friendly, that work with each other and don't cause trouble, don't get cooked. But ducks that like to fight all the time, that kill ducklings, or otherwise cause a lot of trouble, they're the ones that end up in the kitchen. Now there's a black duck, which is actually one of the ones I rescued last year, and he kind of causes trouble once in a while. He'll, like this one over here, fights with him. He's the head of the flock. You can see he's got his 4 females under my old truck. And he was causing a lot of trouble the last few days. Well, I think finally he kind of warded him off, because I haven't seen him for at least a day. But it was getting closer and closer to that point where Mr. Troublemaker was just about ready to have a visit to my kitchen. Now, that would be kind of sad, because again, that's one of the ones I rescued from one of the storm drains. But the thing is this, if you have a bird that's causing you a lot of trouble, don't feel bad about having to do something with it. Now, you have a couple of choices. If you're one of the people like me that's crazy enough to like ducks, you gotta try to keep them, well, you can't keep them from fighting with each other, but if they're getting into too much trouble, it's going to be unnecessary stress. So you'll have to get rid of one of them. And really, there's only a couple ways to get rid of them. One is to take the duck and release it somewhere else, which, by the way, is illegal in Florida. You're not allowed to release these ducks anywhere on public property. So you can't take it down to the canal and let it go. If it happens to go there on its own, that's a different story. Now, you could give it to somebody who's going to keep it captive, maybe a farm, but usually they'll exploit the ducks, or some people just use them for gator bait or whatever else they do with the ducks. So I figure the best solution is this. Unless I know somebody personally that wants a nice duck, drake or whatever it is, I will take care of the duck problem myself. And that means that I will move my duck to one of my specially selected duck pens, where he will spend 2 to 4 weeks eating a lot of high carbohydrate tropical fruits and other food items that will get him kind of plump and lazy and super happy. And he also gets regular visits from the females just to keep him happy and distracted. Until one day, I set up the special duck feeder with the built-in guillotine, and when he puts his head through to eat, that's it. He loses his head, the alarm goes off, and I'm out there with my boiling water ready to go. Get those feathers plucked, get Mr. Ducky gutted out, and ready for cooking. Now, usually what I'll do, I'll section up the duck and I'll fry them. I've never had a lot of success with roast duck. Roast duck always seems to come out dry and nasty because these ducks don't have a lot of fat. But then again, you know, you could marinate them first. But anyway, so again, sometimes in the neighborhood, there'll be a duck that's unusually aggressive or a troublemaker. And again, my neighbors let me know which duck it is. And eventually Mr. Ducky makes his way to the kitchen. So, but again, it's kind of hard to imagine me living anywhere where there are no ducks. I love the ducks. To me, it's a highlight of my morning. I walk outside, the tails are wagging, the ducks are looking at me. I love my ducks. So I try to protect them as much as possible. I like to keep at least 5 of them in my yard. Sometimes I'll have up to 30. At one time I had 50 ducks, but then that started to become a problem. I started having some complaints from the neighbors, and then I had to go into population reduction mode. Now, thankfully, I had a couple of friends that would take some of the ducks, but the rest of the ducks, one by one, they ended up in the kitchen. So, again, I hate all the aircraft that fly over here. Again, the ducks are a very important part of my life, and I hope I never have to be somewhere that doesn't have ducks. Right, guys? Very cute. I wanted to start my truck so that I could clean up under there, but I'm not going to bother them. I'm going to wait until they move away, and then I'll go ahead and start the truck and try to rake out some of the leaves and some of the dirt. Anyway, just wanted to make another video. I'm trying to make a video every day if I can. There's some more videos I want to make that are more detailed, but in this case, it's just a little quack video just to let you know I'm still here. And again, I hope you're having a ducky day, and I'll see you soon.